Captain Han Wu sat in his office on Luna Station, watching the stars through the thick glass window. 50 years had passed since humans first met aliens from other worlds. 50 years since everything changed for Earth and its people. The communication device on his desk made a soft sound. A new message had arrived. Han Wu looked at the screen and saw something that made his heart beat faster. The message was from the Valari. He had not heard from them in over 20 years. Han Wu opened the message with careful fingers. The Valari used simple words when they spoke to humans, but their meaning was always clear. This message was different. It was full of fear. "Friend Han Wu," the message began. "We need help. Our world is in danger. 3 big species want to take our home. They have many ships. They have many weapons. The Galactic Council will not help us. They say it is just a small problem. We remember when we helped your people long ago. We do not ask for payment, but if you can help us, we would be grateful. Your friend, Elder Nim." Han Wu leaned back in his chair. His mind went back to the early days. Back when Earth was new to the galaxy. Back when humans were scared and alone among the stars. It was 47 years ago. Humans had just built their first ships that could travel between stars. They were excited to meet other life forms. They were ready to be friends with everyone they found. But not everyone wanted to be friends with humans. The Crozan Empire was big and strong. They had ruled many star systems for hundreds of years. When they learned about Earth, they saw a weak species that they could easily control. The Crozan sent messages to Earth. They said humans must give them half of everything Earth made. They said humans must follow Crozan laws. They said if humans said no, they would destroy Earth. Earth's leaders were scared. They had small ships and simple weapons. The Crozan had massive fleets and terrible weapons that could burn entire planets. Earth seemed doomed. Then the Valari came. The Valari were small blue creatures with big eyes and gentle voices. They lived on a world called Valar Prime, far from Earth. They were not strong fighters. They were not rich or powerful. But they were kind. Elder Nim had come to Earth himself. Han Wu remembered meeting him at the spaceport. The Valari was no taller than a human child, but he walked with the wisdom of someone very old. "We have heard about your problem with the Crozan," Elder Nim had said. "We want to help you." Earth's leaders were surprised. Why would the Valari help humans? What did they want in return? "We want nothing," Elder Nim had explained. "All beings deserve a chance to grow. The Crozan are bullies. We do not like bullies. The Valari gave Earth something precious. They gave humans the plans for shield technology that could protect their ships. They gave them sensor systems that could see Crozan fleets coming from far away. They gave them communication codes that the Crozan could not break. Most important, the Valari told Earth about the Crozan's weakness. The Crozan were proud and did not like to fight enemies who could fight back. If Earth showed it could defend itself, the Crozan might look for easier targets. Earth used the Valari gifts well. When the Crozan fleet came to Earth, they found human ships with strong shields and smart weapons. The humans fought bravely. They made the Crozan pay a high price for every attack. After 3 days of fighting, the Crozan commander sent a message to Earth. "You fight better than we thought," he said. "We will find easier worlds to conquer. But remember, humans, the galaxy is dangerous. You are still weak." The Crozan left. Earth was safe. The Valari had saved humanity. After the battle, Earth's leaders wanted to pay the Valari back. They offered them money, technology, anything they wanted. Elder Nim just smiled. "We need nothing from you," he said. "Help others when they need it. That is payment enough." The Valari went home to their peaceful world. They sent friendly messages to Earth sometimes, but they never asked for anything. They seemed happy just to know that humans were doing well. Years passed. Earth grew stronger. Humans built better ships and learned more about the galaxy. They joined the Galactic Council. They made friends with other species. They became traders and explorers, but some people remembered the debt. Han Wu was one of them. He had been a young officer during the Crozan attack. He had seen how scared everyone was. He had seen how the Valari helped save his world. Now Han Wu was old and experienced. He was a captain in Earth's defense force. He had fought in several small wars. He had seen how cruel the galaxy could be, and he had never forgotten who helped Earth when it needed help most. Han Wu read Elder Nim's message again. The Valari were in trouble. 3 powerful species wanted their world. The species were called the Hegemony, the Collective, and the Federation. Each one was much stronger than the Valari. Together they were impossible to fight. The Valari world had something valuable. Deep in their planet were rare metals that were needed to build the fastest ships. The three big species all wanted those metals. They did not care that the Valari had lived on that world for thousands of years. The Galactic Council had discussed the problem. But the Council was controlled by the big, powerful species. They said it was just a territorial dispute. They said the Valari should negotiate with their enemies. Everyone knew what that meant. The Valari would lose their home. Hanwoo stood up and walked to his window again. He looked out at the stars and thought about what to do. Earth was stronger now than it had been 47 years ago, but it was still not one of the major powers. Earth had maybe 100 good warships. The three species threatening the Valari had thousands. But Hanwoo remembered something Elder Nim had said long ago. All beings deserve a chance to grow. The Valari had given Earth that chance. Now it was time for Earth to return the favor. Hanwoo called his assistant. "Get me a secure line to Earth Command," he said. "I need to speak with Admiral Kim Tae-ho right away." While he waited for the connection, Hanwoo thought about the young Valari children he had met years ago. They would be adults now, with children of their own. They deserved to grow up on their homeworld, just like human children deserve to grow up on Earth. The communication device showed Admiral Kim's face. "Captain Hanwoo," the Admiral said. "What can I do for you?" Hanwoo took a deep breath. "Sir, I need to tell you about a debt that Earth owes, and I think it's time we paid it back." President Yoon Mi-ra sat at the head of the long table in Earth's emergency council room. Around her were the most important people in human space. Admiral Kim Tae-ho commanded the space fleet. General Choi Hyun led the ground forces. Dr. Park So-min was Earth's best expert on alien species. They were all looking at her, waiting for her decision. "Let me understand this correctly," President Yoon said slowly. "The Valari saved Earth 47 years ago. Now they are asking for our help, and you want us to fight three major galactic powers to save them." Admiral Kim nodded. "That's right, Madam President. Captain Hanwoo has shown us the old records. Without the Valari, Earth would have fallen to the Crozan Empire. We would all be slaves right now." Dr. Park So-min spoke next. "I have studied these three species that are threatening the Valari. The hegemony has over 2,000 warships. The collective has 1,500. The Federation has about 1,000. Together they have more than 4,000 ships in. And how many ships do we have?" President Yoon asked. General Choi answered. 97 combat ships that are ready to fight. Maybe 15 more that could be ready in a few weeks." The room was quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Earth had about 100 ships. The enemy had 4,000. It was like a mouse trying to fight three lions. "There is something else," Dr. Park said. "I have been reading about these species. They have never fought humans before. They do not know how we fight wars." "What do you mean?" Admiral Kim asked. Dr. Park touched her computer pad. Pictures appeared on the wall screen. "The hegemony fights wars by sending messages back and forth until someone gives up. They do not like to lose ships or soldiers. The collective uses robot ships mostly. They think losing artificial intelligence is better than losing real lives. The Federation has good weapons, but they retreat quickly if they start losing." President Yoon studied the pictures. She saw alien ships that were big and powerful, but they all looked the same. They looked like they were built by creatures who wanted to avoid danger. "They fight careful wars," Dr. Park continued. "They try not to lose too much. When they attack smaller species, those species usually surrender quickly. The big species do not expect anyone to fight back hard." General Choi leaned forward. "Are you saying they have never fought someone who refuses to give up?" "That is exactly what I am saying," Dr. Park replied. "In their records, wars end when one side decides the cost is too high. No one fights until they have nothing left." President Yoon stood up and walked to the window. She could see Earth below, blue and beautiful. She thought about her daughter who was starting school next week. She thought about all the human children who deserved to grow up free because the Valari had helped their grandparents. "The alien ambassadors will be angry," Admiral Kim said quietly. "They have already sent messages warning us not to interfere." President Yoon turned back to the table. "What did they say exactly?" Admiral Kim read from his notes. "The hegemony ambassador said we are a young species that does not understand galactic politics. The collective said we should stay out of affairs that are too big for us. The Federation told us that minor species should not challenge their betters." President Yoon felt anger rise in her chest. They're betters, she said. They think they are better than us? They think they are better than everyone, Dr. Park said. That is how these big species stay in power. They make smaller species believe they cannot fight back. General Choi spoke up. Madam President, I have to say this. Even if we fight as hard as we can, we will probably lose. Most of our ships will be destroyed. Many good people will die. President Yoon looked at each person around the table. These were Earth's best leaders. They all knew the odds. They all knew what would happen if Earth lost this fight. General Choi is right, she said. This will be dangerous. We might lose everything. But I want to ask you all something. What kind of people would we be if we let the Valari die when they saved us? No one answered, but President Yoon could see the answer in their faces. The Valari could have ignored Earth's problems 47 years ago, she continued. They were small and weak, just like we are now. The smart thing for them would have been to hide and stay safe. Instead, they risked everything to help strangers. Admiral Kim straightened up. What are your orders, Madam President? President Yoon walked back to her chair. She put her hands on the table and looked at each person again. We are going to help our friends, she said firmly. I want every ship we have made ready for war. I want every soldier prepared to fight. I want the whole galaxy to know that humans do not abandon the people who helped us. Dr. Park looked worried. The other species will think we are crazy. Some of them might even decide to attack Earth while our fleet is away. Then we will deal with that problem when it comes, President Yoon said. But we are not going to live as cowards while our friends die. Admiral Kim stood up. I will start preparing the fleet immediately. But I have to warn you, Madam President, when we announce this decision, every major power in the galaxy will try to stop us. They will offer us deals. They will threaten us. They will do everything they can to make us change our minds. President Yoon smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had made a hard choice and would not back down. Let them try, she said. But they should know something about humans. When we make a promise, we keep it. When we owe a debt, we pay it. And when we decide to fight, we do not stop until the job is done. The next day, President Yoon stood in front of cameras that would send her message across the galaxy. She wore her best uniform, the one she saved for the most important speeches. People of Earth, she began, and all beings who are listening across the stars. Today I'm announcing that Earth will send our fleet to help the Valari people. 47 years ago, the Valari saved our world when we could not save ourselves. Now they are in danger, and it is our turn to help them. She paused and looked directly into the camera. Some people will say this is foolish. They will say Earth is too small to fight big powers. They will say we should stay home where it is safe. But I say this to them. Earth does not abandon its friends. We do not forget who helped us when we needed help. And we are not afraid to do what is right even when it is dangerous. The message went out across the galaxy in minutes. Within hours, responses started coming back. The hegemony ambassador requested an emergency meeting. The collective sent a formal protest. The Federation threatened to reconsider Earth's trade agreements, but there were other messages too. Small species that Earth had never heard of sent quiet notes of support. Some offered to help even though they had almost nothing to give. One message came from an old Valari named Neem. It was short and simple. Thank you, friends. We knew you would remember. In the fleet preparation yards around Earth and Luna, thousands of humans worked day and night to get the ships ready. They knew they were preparing for a fight they might not win. But they also knew they were doing something important. Captain Han Wu supervised the loading of supplies onto his ship. A young officer came up to him with a question. Sir, the officer said, do you really think we can win this fight? Han Wu thought for a moment before answering. Maybe we can win. Maybe we cannot. But I know one thing for sure. When this is over, the galaxy will know what humans are made of. They will know that we keep our promises, and they will know that we are not afraid to fight for what is right. The officer nodded and went back to work. Around them, the fleet of Earth prepared for war. Commander Bei Jinwoo stood on the bridge of his ship, the Soul's Pride, and stared at the sight before him. The Valari home system was surrounded by more enemy ships than he had ever seen in one place. Thousands of vessels from 3 different species formed a giant ring around the small blue world where the Valari lived. Captain Nam Soo-jin, what do your sensors show? Commander Bei asked into his communication device. Captain Nam's voice came back from her fast scout ship. I count 2,100 hegemony ships, 1,500 from the collective, about 1,000 Federation vessels, They have us outnumbered 40-1. Commander Bay looked at the display screen that showed Earth's small fleet, 97 human ships against more than 4,000 alien vessels. On paper, it looked impossible. Colonel Oda-un, are your Marines ready? He asked. Colonel O's voice was calm and steady. My people are ready for whatever you need, Commander. We did not come here to watch. The alien fleets had been waiting for the humans to arrive. Now messages started coming in from the enemy commanders. The first message was from Fleet Admiral Zek of the Hegemony. His image appeared on the main screen. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. His voice sounded bored, like he was talking to children. Human Commander, Admiral Zek said, I'm surprised to see you here. Your species is young and does not understand how the galaxy works. This is not your fight. Take your small ships and go home. We do not wish to destroy such a new species unnecessarily. The second message came from Collective Command Unit 7742. It appeared as a glowing ball of light on the screen. Its voice was cold and mechanical. Human forces, it said. Your presence here serves no logical purpose. You have 97 ships. We have 4,600. Resistance will result in complete destruction of your fleet. Withdraw now and preserve your species for future growth. The third message was from Federation Marshal Corex. He looked like a giant lizard standing upright, with scales that changed color when he spoke. His tone was almost friendly. Humans, Marshal Corex said, we have heard good things about your species. You are brave traders and honest dealers. Do not throw away your future for these worthless Valari. Join us instead. We will give you a share of the metals we find on their world. Everyone wins except the Valari. And who cares about them? Commander Bay listened to all 3 messages. Then he opened a channel that would broadcast to all enemy ships. This is Commander Bay Jinwoo of the Earth Defense Force, he said calmly. We received your messages. Here is our answer. We came here to repay a debt to our friends. We are not leaving until that debt is paid in full. There was silence for several seconds. Then Admiral Zek's voice came back and he sounded annoyed. Human Commander, you are being foolish. We are offering you a chance to leave with honor. Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are weak. You cannot possibly win this fight. Commander Bay smiled, though the aliens could not see it through the communication channel. Admiral Zek, he said, you are right about something. We probably cannot win this fight the way you fight wars, but here is something you do not understand about humans. We do not fight wars the same way you do. Before the aliens could respond, Commander Bay closed the communication channel and spoke to his fleet. All ships. This is Commander Bay. You know why we are here. You know what we have to do. Remember your training. Remember who we are fighting for. And remember that today, the galaxy will learn something new about humans. The enemy fleets moved first. They came forward in careful formations, keeping their ships safe distances apart. Their weapons reached out toward the human ships like bright fingers of death. But the human ships did not fight the way the aliens expected. Captain Nam, Su Jin pushed her scout ship to maximum speed and flew straight at a hegemony command vessel. The alien ship's shields were strong, but Captain Nam did not try to break through them with weapons. Instead, she flew her ship directly into the alien vessel at full speed. The explosion destroyed both ships instantly. The alien commanders could not believe what they had just seen. Did that human just kill herself to destroy one of our ships? Admiral Zek asked his officers. That is what the sensors show, sir, his second-in-command replied. But it makes no sense. Why would she waste her life for so little gain? What Admiral Zek did not understand was that Captain Nam had not wasted her life. Her sacrifice had destroyed the communication hub for an entire battle group. Hundreds of hegemony ships suddenly could not talk to each other or receive orders. Commander Bay saw the opening that Captain Nam had created. All ships attack Formation 7, he ordered. Hit them while they are confused. Human ships charged into the gap in the enemy lines. But they did not fight like the aliens expected. When a human ship's shields failed, the captain would ram it into the nearest enemy vessel. When a human ship ran out of ammunition, the crew would use their ship as a missile. Colonel Oh Da-eun led boarding parties that jumped from human ships onto alien vessels. Her Marines fought with a fury that terrified the enemy crews. They did not retreat when they were outnumbered. They did not surrender when their weapons broke. They kept fighting until either they won or they died. These humans fight like wild animals, reported a collective unit. They show no concern for their own survival. How can we plan tactics against enemies who do not care if they live or die? But the human commanders did care about survival. They just cared about something else more. They cared about keeping their promise to the Volari. The battle raged for hours. Human ships were destroyed one after another, but each loss cost the aliens dearly. A single human vessel would take 3 or 4 enemy ships with it when it died. News of the battle spread quickly through galactic communication networks. Other species watched in shock as reports came in. The humans are using their own ships as weapons, one reporter broadcast. They are fighting with a desperation we have never seen before. This cannot be real, said an ambassador from the neutral zone. No species fights this way. It is madness, but it was not madness. It was something the galaxy had forgotten existed. It was the fury of a species that refused to abandon its friends. Admiral Zek called another meeting with the other enemy commanders. His calm attitude was gone. Now he sounded worried. These humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered, he said. Our battle computers cannot predict their actions. They do things that make no tactical sense. Marshal Korex agreed. My ships have destroyed 30 human vessels, but I have lost over 100 of my own. At this rate, they will cripple our fleets even if we destroy them all. Collective Command Unit 7742 processed the data coldly. Analysis shows human tactics are based on emotional responses rather than logical calculations. This makes them extremely dangerous opponents. Recommendation: withdraw and reassess. But none of the 3 commanders wanted to be the first to retreat from a battle against such a small enemy force. Their pride would not let them back down, so the battle continued. And the galaxy watched in amazement as 97 human ships held their ground against thousands of enemy vessels. Deep in space, monitoring stations recorded every moment of the fight. The recordings would be studied for years to come. Military academies would try to understand how such a small force could cause so much damage, but they would miss the most important lesson. The humans were not fighting for territory or resources or glory. They were fighting because they had given their word to a friend. And in the human mind, that made all the difference in the galaxy. Major Shin Young-ho floated in the cold darkness of space, watching his target through his helmet display. The collective ship was huge, 10 times bigger than any human vessel. Its metal hull was covered with weapon ports and sensor arrays. It looked impossible to attack, but Major Shin had learned something in his years of fighting. Nothing was truly impossible if you were willing to pay the price. Beta team, report status, he spoke into his suit radio. Ready to go, sir? Came the reply from Sergeant Kim Ji-won. 20 Marines, full combat load. Gamma team? Ready, Major, answered Corporal Lee Sun-young. We have the cutting charges prepared. Major Shin looked at the enemy ship again. His plan was simple and completely crazy. His Marines would use their suit thrusters to fly across space and land on the alien ship's hull. Then they would cut their way inside and fight the crew hand to hand. Any sane military commander would call it suicide. The enemy ship had thousands of crew members. Major Shin had 40 Marines, but Major Shin had something the aliens did not understand. He had Marines who would rather die fighting than live knowing they had failed their mission. All teams, execute attack pattern, he ordered. 40 small figures launched themselves from the damaged human ship toward the massive alien vessel. They flew through space like tiny missiles, dodging the defensive fire that reached out to stop them. Sergeant Kim Ji-won was the first to reach the enemy hull. She activated her magnetic boots and stuck to the metal surface. Energy beams flashed around her as the ship's automatic defenses tried to shoot her. But she ignored them and began setting cutting charges. Hull breach in 30 seconds, she reported. Inside the collective ship, alarms were screaming. The ship's AI tried to understand what was happening. Alert! Enemy boarding parties detected on outer hull, the computer announced. Number of attackers 40. Recommendation: ignore threat. 40 individuals cannot threaten a crew of 4,000. But Collective Command Unit 7742 had been watching the battle for hours. It had seen what humans could do when they stopped caring about their own safety. Negative, the AI unit replied. These are humans. Send all available security teams to repel borders. Maximum priority. The first explosion opened a hole in the ship's hull. Major Shin led his Marines inside, moving fast through corridors designed for creatures much taller than humans. The first collective crew members they met were maintenance robots. The robots tried to stop the humans with electric prods and grabbing arms. The Marines destroyed them with quick bursts of gunfire and kept moving. "Contact front," called Corporal Lee Sun Young. 20 enemy soldiers, corridor junction ahead. The collective soldiers were tall gray beings with 4 eyes and natural armor plating. They carried weapons that could punch holes through steel. They had set up a defensive position that should have stopped any attack, but they had never fought humans before. Major Shin did not try to find cover or set up a careful attack. Instead, he charged straight at the enemy position, firing his rifle as he ran. His Marines followed him, screaming battle cries that echoed through the alien corridors. The collective soldiers were so surprised by the frontal assault that their first shots missed. By the time they recovered, the humans were among them, fighting with knives and bare hands when their ammunition ran out. "Impossible," one of the alien soldiers said before Sergeant Kim Ji-won's combat knife found his throat. "Boarders should advance carefully. They should use tactics. They should not attack superior numbers directly." But the humans were not interested in what should happen. They were interested in completing their mission. Commander Ko Min-soo watched the battle from his ship's bridge, coordinating attacks across the entire combat zone. His tactical display showed dozens of small red dots representing human vessels, fighting against thousands of blue dots representing enemy ships. The odds looked hopeless. But Commander Ko had studied human military history. He knew that humans had won impossible battles before. "Captain Lim Hai-wan," he called to one of his ship commanders, "I need you to take your vessel through the enemy formation to the planet's surface." "Sir," Captain Lim replied, "my ship will never make it through that many enemy vessels." "I know," Commander Ko said quietly. "But the Valari evacuation ships need cover. Someone has to protect them while they escape." Captain Lim understood. Her ship would probably be destroyed, but the mission came first. "Understood, sir. Beginning attack run now." Captain Lim pushed her ship's engines to maximum power and flew straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Energy beams reached out from hundreds of alien vessels, but her ship kept moving. Her gunners fired at everything in range, not trying to destroy enemy ships, just trying to damage them and draw their attention. "Hull breach on deck 4, her engineering officer reported. "Life support failing on deck 7, called her medical officer. "Forward. Weapons destroyed," said her tactical. Officer Captain Lim ignored all the damage reports. She could see Valari evacuation ships on her screen, small civilian vessels trying to carry families to safety. As long as those ships were in danger, she would keep fighting. Her ship finally died when 17 enemy vessels concentrated their fire on it at the same time. But by then, the Valari evacuation ships had reached safe distance. Across the galaxy, news networks struggled to report what they were seeing. The battle made no sense according to everything they knew about modern warfare. The human ships continued to attack, despite taking massive casualties, reported one correspondent. Their tactics appear to be based on causing maximum damage to the enemy, rather than preserving their own forces. Military experts from major species watched the recordings with growing amazement and fear. "Look at this footage," said General Vorth of the Hegemony Strategic Command. "That human ship is badly damaged. It should retreat for repairs. Instead, it is using itself as a missile against 3 of our cruisers. Here's another example," added Admiral Nexus of the Federation War College. "This human boarding party has been cut off from support. Logic says they should surrender. Instead, they are fighting their way deeper into the enemy ship. Most disturbing of all," noted AI construct Zeta-9 of the Collective Analysis Network, "the humans appear to be fighting harder as their losses increase. Standard military psychology suggests that heavy casualties should reduce morale. These humans show the opposite response. What the alien experts did not understand was something basic about human nature. Humans did not fight harder because they wanted to die. They fought harder because they wanted their deaths to mean something. Every human in the fleet knew they were probably going to die in this battle. But they also knew that their sacrifice would save the Valari. That knowledge made them more dangerous than the aliens could imagine. Major Shin Young-ho stood in the command center of the collective ship he had captured. Half of his Marines were dead or wounded, but they had taken control of the vessel's central computer. "Sergeant Kim," he called to his communications specialist, "can you access their fleet coordination system?" "Working on it, sir," she replied, her fingers flying over the alien controls. "These creatures use a different computer language, but I think I can break through their security." Major Shin looked around at his surviving Marines. They were all wounded. Their armor was damaged. Their weapons were running low on ammunition. But they were still fighting. "Got it, sir," Sergeant Kim announced. "I have access to their command network." Major Shin smiled. "Upload the virus program Earth Command gave us. Let's see how well their fleet fights when their computers start attacking each other." The virus spread through the collective fleet's computer network in minutes. Ships that had been working together perfectly suddenly could not communicate. Weapon systems turned on their own vessels. Navigation computers sent ships flying in random directions. Similar scenes were happening throughout the battle zone. Human Marines captured enemy vessels and turned their weapons on their former allies. Human pilots flew damaged ships into enemy formations, causing chaos and destruction far beyond what their small numbers should have achieved. The galaxy watched in growing horror as reports continued to come in. These humans were not just brave or determined. They were something much more frightening. They were completely, utterly committed to their cause, and that made them the most dangerous enemies the major species had ever faced. Fleet Admiral Jang Dongmin stood in the command center of his flagship, watching the tactical display with tired eyes. The battle had been raging for 18 hours. Of the 97 ships Earth had brought to save the Valari, only 23 were still able to fight, but the enemy had suffered far worse losses. "Status report." Admiral Jang called to his communications officer. "Sir, the hegemony has lost over 800 ships. The collective has lost 600. The Federation has lost 400. Their remaining vessels are pulling back from the planet." Admiral Jang nodded slowly. The human fleet had been nearly destroyed, but they had broken the siege of the Valari homeworld. The cost had been terrible, but the mission was complete. "Admiral," called his sensor officer, "I am receiving a message from the surface. It is Elder Nim." The old Valari's face appeared on the main screen. His large eyes were full of tears. "Admiral Jang," Elder Nim said, "we cannot find words to thank you. Your people have given everything to save us. We are evacuating our civilians to the ships you cleared a path for, but so many of your brave warriors have died for us. We feel ashamed that our freedom cost so much human blood." Admiral Jang looked at the alien who had saved Earth so many years ago. "Elder Nim, our people came here by choice. They knew the cost. They paid it willingly because you helped us when we needed help. Now we are even." But Elder Nim shook his head. "No, Admiral. We are not even. We can never repay what your species has done for us today. The galaxy will remember this battle for 1,000 years." Captain Hanwoo's voice came through the communication system. His ship had been badly damaged, but he was still alive. "Admiral, the last Valari evacuation ship has reached safe distance. All civilians are secure." Admiral Jang felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had saved their friends. "All ships," he announced to his fleet. "Mission accomplished. The Valari are safe. Prepare to return to Earth." But as the human fleet began to withdraw, something unexpected happened. The three enemy fleets, instead of attacking the retreating humans, began arguing among themselves. Admiral Zek of the hegemony was the first to break. His proud voice was now full of fear and anger. "This is madness," he broadcast to the other commanders. "We came here to claim some mining rights. Now we have lost nearly 1,000 ships to a species that barely has 100 vessels. My government will demand to know how this happened." Marshal Korex of the Federation sounded even worse. "My fleet is crippled. Half of my ships are destroyed or too damaged to fight. And for what? To fight creatures who treat their lives like ammunition? I am withdrawing all Federation forces immediately." Collective Command Unit 7742 processed the battle data with cold logic. Analysis complete. Human tactical behavior is unpredictable and highly dangerous. Continued engagement will result in unacceptable losses. Recommend immediate withdrawal from this system. Within hours, the massive enemy fleets that had surrounded the Valari world were fleeing in all directions. The species that had seemed so powerful suddenly wanted nothing more than to get away from the humans as quickly as possible. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Every species with communication. Technology heard the story of how 97 human vessels had defeated 4,000 enemy ships and saved the Valari homeworld ambassador. Kang Yunju was waiting when the human fleet returned to Earth. She had been chosen to deliver humanity's message to the Galactic Council. When she stood before the assembled representatives of hundreds of species, the Great Hall was completely silent. Members of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Kang began. I come before you today to make something very clear. The human species wishes to live in peace with all our galactic neighbors. We want to trade with you, learn from you, and share the wonders of the universe together. She paused and looked around the hall. Many of the alien ambassadors would not meet her eyes. But, Ambassador Kang continued, humanity has some principles that we will never compromise. We do not abandon our friends. We do not break our promises. And we do not allow bullies to hurt those we care about, no matter how powerful those bullies think they are. A representative from the hegemony tried to interrupt. Ambassador Kang, your species acted recklessly. You could have negotiated a peaceful solution. Ambassador Kang turned to face the hegemony representative. You mean we could have let our friends be destroyed while we sat safely at home? That is not the human way. When someone helps us, we remember. When they are in danger, we act. She looked around the hall again. I want you all to understand something about humans. We are not looking for fights. We do not want to conquer anyone or steal anyone's territory. But we will defend our friends with every ship we have and every life we can give. The collective representative spoke next. Its electronic voice was carefully neutral. Your tactics were unusual, Ambassador. Your species fights in ways we had not calculated. That is because you do not understand what we were fighting for, Ambassador Kang replied. You fought for profit. We fought for friendship. That makes all the difference. When the council session ended, something had changed in the galaxy. Word spread quickly through every space station, every trade route, every diplomatic channel. The humans had kept their promise to the Velari. They had faced impossible odds and won through sheer determination and sacrifice. Within weeks, small species from across the galaxy began sending messages to Earth. They wanted trade agreements, defense pacts, and cultural exchanges. They had seen what humans would do for their friends, and they wanted humans as their friends too. The major powers, meanwhile, began treating Earth very differently. No one wanted to be the next target of human determination. When human ships appeared at border crossings, alien customs officials processed them quickly and politely. When human diplomats spoke at council meetings, everyone listened carefully. Fleet Admiral Jang Dongmin stood in the memorial garden on Luna Station, reading the names carved in black stone. Each name represented a human who had died in the battle to save the Velari. There were so many names. Captain Nam Soo Jin, who had sacrificed her ship to break the enemy communications. Major Shin Young-ho, who had died holding the bridge of a captured collective vessel. Captain Lim Hae-won, who had given her life to protect Velari evacuation ships. Hundreds of others who had chosen duty over survival. At the bottom of the memorial was an inscription that Fleet Admiral Zhang had written himself. They paid humanity's debt in full. Captain Han Wu joined him at the memorial. The old officer moved slowly now, his body marked by the injuries he had suffered in the battle. Do you think they know? Captain Han asked quietly. Do you think they know what they accomplished? Fleet Admiral Zhang thought about the question. Around the galaxy, major powers were being more careful about bullying smaller species. The Galactic Council was taking complaints from minor worlds more seriously. Trade routes were safer because everyone knew that humans would respond if their friends were attacked. Yes, Fleet Admiral Zhang said finally. I think they know. The galaxy is different now because of what they did. People like the Velari can sleep safely because everyone knows what will happen if they are threatened. Captain Han nodded. The debt is paid. The debt is paid, Fleet Admiral Zhang agreed. But more than that, the galaxy has learned something new about humans. They have learned that we keep our promises no matter what it costs us. As the two officers stood in silence, a message arrived from the Velari homeworld. Elder Nim was thanking Earth again for the rescue of his people. But at the end of his message was something new. We have heard that other small species are asking for human friendship, Elder Nim said. This makes us happy. The galaxy needs more beings who understand the value of loyalty and courage. We are proud to call you our friends. Fleet Admiral Zhang smiled as he read the message. The Velari had given humanity a chance to grow when Earth was weak and alone. Now humanity was giving that same chance to other species across the galaxy. It was a good trade, and it was a debt that would never need to be repaid, because it would be passed forward to others who needed help. In the darkness between the stars, ships from dozens of worlds flew under human protection. They carried the message that the galaxy had learned from the battle at Velari Prime. Humans remember their friends, and humans keep their promises. That message would echo through space for generations to come. And whenever bullies threatened the weak, they would remember what happened when someone hurt humanity's friends. The galaxy was a safer place now, and it would stay that way, as long as humans remembered the lesson the Valari had taught them so long ago. All beings deserve a chance to grow,